Hello everybody, I'm Art, and today we're going to do a tour of my base now that I've finished the Enigmatica 2 Expert series, because I realized in all of my videos I only really was walking through small sections of my base during most of the videos, and I never really showed actually how I used it overall. You just mostly saw the clips where I was actually doing things. So we'll start with the roof up here, which I'm super proud of because it uses colors and patterns and textures I normally wouldn't have in the base when I first made this. Obviously things have changed, I've gotten better at this, but I am proud of the colors and the look on this. Second is that beacon way over there. That's where I fought the Gaia spirit more times than I want to discuss, but it's over there to avoid explosions and problems over anywhere near my base. Hopping back down here to the bottom, most of you should be familiar with this area because this is where it all started. This is my front yard and where I built the initial base. And my initial stated goal on this was to become a better builder, and while I'm proud of what I made here, the reality is I made a box, and I will need to get better at making things that are not boxes. And I'm working on that in my Glacial Awakening series and some stuff outside of that. But this is still a box. It's a box I like, but it's a box. But coming in here, these are the rooms most people would be familiar with from my videos because these are my basic workrooms in this 4-story building, most of which is in the basement. Originally, there was a stairwell down here that led me down into the work area, and then I realized that that was just going to get in the way, and I replaced it with open blocks elevators under these rugs. They go all the way up and down and get me to where I need. Up here, I had grand plans to actually do all sorts of labs and machine work up here, setting them up in between the wall segments like this, kind of like how this chem lab back here was set up, and never actually did anything with it. Those were my plans from like the first couple episodes that just never materialized. Instead, what we got was this tiny little office workroom area that I intended to do some grand things with, and then just shoved all my Thaumcraft stuff back in that compact machine back there. Could have done better there. But one of the big mistakes I did make with this, and the one piece of advice I would give when making a base, is make your base designed for flight, because you're going to spend a really large part of this pack with the ability to fly. And while a good chunk of my base is accessible, I do have things like that stairwell over there leading to the other half of my base, or I don't know, this glassed-in floor above my main work and storage area that you can't fly out of. You have to use the elevators to do everything. But now we're in my main workroom here, which has most of my standalone machines that are not driven by automation. And this is where I spent probably the whole first half of the series. Like, I didn't even remove these work tables over here, which handled all my basic crafts, like all of my actually additions sub-combines or the immersive engineering ones. You know, all of the scut work that I did, free automation, because I put off doing AE2 for so very long on this pack. And I wouldn't recommend that for most people. I would recommend beelining pretty much straight to it, because that's what this pack is all about. And I just didn't do that. Just because I didn't want to. I mostly wanted to learn how everything actually worked. So we have a big, huge mess of machines in this room, but it got the job done. And then down in the basement, we have all of the villagers that I've kidnapped and my big, huge drawer system for storage, as well as my basic hub for interfacing with my AE2 system, and a bunch of miscellaneous machines that I just threw on the ground because I needed to work with stuff. Not very impressive. This is where things started getting ugly, and where I did things like crammed in my Empower here, which I destroyed one of the pedestals for when I was filming another video, but that's what we get. Under this rug right here, and none of the rest, however, leads down into my secret AE2 birthday room that, I have no idea why I built it this way, folks, okay? I had an idea, I went with it. Not everything can be a success, but this is what we ended up with. And I will say that the one thing I can absolutely say beyond a shadow of a doubt that I did correctly was confine all of my AE2 messes into compact machines, because I definitely did not leave enough room to basically run AE2 stuff all the way through my base in any sort of clean fashion. And when I did do it, like up there right above my head, I have wireless interfaces to take it out, because cabling through my base with those, it just was not viable. So I did a good thing by boxing everything up into like these compact machines over here, because these ones are all of my big humongous workrooms, and this is probably better than actually going in here because you can see most of it in a relatively clean fashion. But I made a big huge wiring mess out of this room, and it is what it is. The other ones are a little bit better, a little bit cleaner. Like this is my Draconic Evolution lab. It's mostly for the fusion crafting machines back here, but there were a couple other things that were relatively minor. And then my gigantic mess for my extended crafting lab, where I had to do all of the singularities as well as the Ender crafting stuff, and the Anglesite and Benitoid combo crafters up here. So big, huge messes. And we'll actually come into this last one to show you exactly how bad an AE2 mess can get with all the horrifying wiring that I did in this one, because this was my secondary lab, which had all of the weird machines and all of the weird auto processing stuff. Like up there's my latex processing farm, and down here's my living rock from Botania, and my huge stack of Empowers. But it can get bad really, really fast, so you want to put some forethought into it. So this is a mess, but I actually hid it from the rest of my base at least. Continuing around the ring, we have the 2 big modular machines that I had to do for Astral Sorcery and Thaumcraft. Sitting right next to the next one here, which is my crafting CPU lab, which is a whole bunch of medium-sized banks and a couple small ones. I probably should have built these bigger, at least a couple of them much bigger. It's honestly not like resources were the problem at the point I was doing these. I probably should have cranked out some really big ones to process the last couple things I did. That took quite a while. And this last one we will come into as well, because this is my molecular assembler lab, just to give you an idea of how many recipes it takes to do Enigmatica 2 Expert. Almost all of these ME interfaces are full. So what I've done here is I've created a line of 8 ME interfaces, completely starred up with molecular assemblers around most of them. Some of them I clearly didn't finish around to finishing. The intent was to have a full row of 6 ME interfaces full of recipes, complete with molecular assemblers, all touching a single cable to power them, using up 6 of the channels. But it requires a ridiculous amount of these to get through this pack. Coming back upstairs to the office, we can take a look inside the compact machine real fast from my Thaumcraft lab. If you really want the details on this, watch the episodes, because I really hate Thaumcraft. But you can see that this is just where I shoved all of it to avoid tainting the rest of my base. And then coming around for that, we have a whole bunch of automation that I did where I had to get various chemicals or various powders and substances from a bunch of nuclear craft machines. Same with over on the other side over here. Up here, this elevator is also a special single-use elevator that we can go up another layer for. Way up into the sky to my Astral Sorcery platform, which I use pretty heavily through the series. This probably looks pretty familiar. And it drives me up the wall because while I'm super proud with how this actually looks, if you look carefully, you can see that I didn't line things upright and it's not evenly laid out the way I would have liked. If you seriously look at the attunement altar below me, it's not quite centered. Coming back down 2 levels, we have my trophy corner, which I had meant to do more stuff, at least like put more of the terrariums in here and just never got around to it. We have most of the Botania trophies on the wall except for the one that I'm using. And then around the corner here, we have my Cooking with Blockhead's kitchen. Coming back out and out the back door here, we have all of my outside work areas, which included originally wind power and solar power that I received from loot boxes, a couple beehives from Animania back there, as well as my blood altar and various sacrifice areas for all the blood magic stuff. Then we have the Void Ore Miner, which originally was in this enclosure back here that I'm really super proud of having made. I made this completely off the cuff and I'm absolutely in love with how it looks. But the Void Ore Miner got very big and I had to replace it with the Void Resource Miner instead for the blocks, which I never actually increased in size. But I super love how this particular room turned out. Back behind here, in a really junky fashion, we have my mechanism fusion reactor and all the reactor fuel stuff other than the actual parts that are in the end for generating the deuterium fuel for this. And then coming back under here, I am super proud of this bridge. I shouldn't be, because it's not that pretty, but what I am is happy is with the underlying area right here. I'm just really happy with the way that it actually turned out with the tunnel going in. There's really supposed to be also a tunnel going back up into my advanced rocketry area, as well as a basement area for power that never got around to being made. And then up here we have my advanced rocketry lab with the modular machines and the advanced rocketry multi-block systems. I could have put more stuff in here easily. It's a big, huge, large vaulted room, and I just got lazy as I got further in because things started taking really, really long time periods to make, and I was over it. That's why this is a relatively uniform looking area. I'm kind of happy with how the floor and the lighting's turned out, but like it's all very gray and white and blue. I could have done better. It's also kind of a square, even if I did do the diagonal bit right there to mirror my entrance in the main base. But overall, it's pretty good. The rocket launch pad is out here behind it because I didn't make it fancy and just gave up, as well as my refining tower to make lubricant for the rolling machine right here. Coming back here, we have the inside of the tunnel, which I'm actually proud of. I really wanted to punch a hole into my Botania area and just never did. But I do like how this double-decker tunnel system turned out, where I can come down here into what was going to be my power area, and instead I just never really made it pretty and just chucked in my induction matrix for my battery, and then buried my IC2 reactor and a bunch of casing back there. But it still looks decent. I could have made this prettier, but I also wasn't coming down here all that often. Coming back up here and dropping back down, we have the hamster tunnel right by my smeltery, which leads to my Botania lab up top in a really slow fashion because I never put the high-speed tunnels in. But up here we have all of the Botania stuff, and I tried to make this somewhat pretty. I was trying to figure out if I was ever going to bother automating anything, figured this was a terrible idea, but I at least liked the way it looked, and then ultimately ended up automating nothing and just made the infinite mana pool at the very end and didn't really need anything. Anyhow, I hope this was at least enlightening for some of you for the gigantic messes that I created. And I didn't even show you most of the farms that I created because those what all of these convex machines that are studded throughout this room are. Because if you want the details for that, they're in my videos that you can go back and watch and get more of the details on. I also didn't show the ugly crawl spaces behind my walls here with all the ugly cabling because, I mean, really folks, this is where all the warts are. You do see it every once in a while in video though. And who wants to see the ugly parts of the base, really? Let's pretend I did this part right, eh? Anyhow, if you found this video interesting and entertaining, please consider me a like or subscribing if you're new. Also, did you know I have a Discord community now? Maybe come swing by and come talk to us. We're pretty friendly, I swear. As always, I'm Ard. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.